Hello, this is the video for Thursday, November 19th for 11th grade English. I'll talk you through what we're doing today and show you the stems all at one time. So we're really looking at the book today, and we're moving more fully into the book as the days go by. The today's topic is that Maddie Ross degenders the West. So what I mean by that is, in the myth of the West, the myth genders the West to be a masculine space. Now that's partly based in fact. More people living in the West at this time were men. But because it's taken on a mythology, the character of the West in our imagination is a masculine character. And so Maddie blows that open. So that's really what we're looking at today. We read a poem along those lines. The terms are rhetorical question and sarcasm, and then we looked at the first half of chapter 5. The stem there is very much connected to my first thing I said. Maddie rejects romantic ideas about femininity, the opposite of masculinity. I'm going to, for those of you watching at home, get pretty quickly to these pieces. You're welcome to read the poem on your own. It's by Sherman Alexie, who wrote that short story we read at the beginning of the year, and it's a great poem. It's really about sarcasm, so we're going to get to that first. So in Thursday's big Google Doc, sarcasm is our first term. Sarcasm is meaning the opposite of what you say. Joking. You guys use sarcasm all the time. It's just that we want you to know what the word means and be able to identify it in a text, and that's probably the harder step. And then the second term for today is rhetorical question. It's when you ask a question without really wanting an answer, which is also something we do all the time without realizing it. Whenever you say something like, are you crazy? That's rhetorical. You don't actually want a response. Or try to think of another good example of something. It's often done with a sarcastic tone, like, what do you think? That kind of non-response. It's not really a question. So we're going to see that tied to sarcasm. I'm bringing them both in on the day where we're looking at femininity and masculinity because Maddie uses both of these. She's really comfortable in the world of sarcasm. And that really itself rejects this idea of a feminine response, everything being kind of soft and bashful. Maddie can hang right in there when the men around her are making fun of her or being really kind of mean-spirited to her through sarcasm and through rhetorical questions. So we'll look at a couple of places in chapter 5 where that happens. Sarcasm is punctuating the conversation with Stonehill about the ponies, and then rhetorical questions when Rooster realizes that Maddie is coming on this journey to find the murderer. She's not going to stay at home and let him do it. Those are a couple of moments where we're going to see rhetorical questioning coming in. I brought this up really quickly for your classmates. You don't need to do anything except listen here. There's a lot of opposing forces in Westerns, and this book is very much a Western, where the individual is against the community, or where, if you go down a little bit, the West is against the East. And here, nature and culture are at odds. Purity of the West battles the corruption of the East. Experience of the West battles the knowledge of the East. Pragmatism, being practical, battles idealism. And right here, I would add another opposing force. Masculinity battles femininity. Femininity is seen as soft and yielding, and masculinity is seen as straight, talking, brutal. And so we get Maddie, who is both for sure. She is neither masculine nor feminine. She is simply herself. So when you do your STEM today, it's really along those lines of taking up this idea that she rejects romantic ideas about femininity, softness, somebody who is supposed to simply allow for these things to happen without getting involved. Instead, every time Maddie is up against some man, usually, who's criticizing her, she comes right up to their level and criticizes them back. She does not think she's being masculine. She simply thinks all of those labels are useless. And that, I think, is part of the rejection here in her character. And I want you to explore that in your STEM. It's a difficult idea. It's my opinion that I'm putting in the STEM, but I'd like to see what you can do with it. I think the hardest part about the STEM is the couple of vocab words I use, romantic and femininity. So see what you can do with that. Know here, romantic means idealistic. Ideal visions about femininity, womanhood. So Maddie rejects that. Well, what happens as a result? Or whenever she does this, what is happening in the scene? And then, of course, the although statement. Although she rejects femininity, can you find something that shows that it's a little complicated? So we looked at chapter 5. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of all of this at work and then let you read it on your own. Chapter 5 today, we just did the first half. So when you get to the part where she says, "This is a fine pony," about her new horse, you can stop and we'll take up the rest of it on Monday. So Maddie says she rises early in the morning and she gets a letter from her lawyer. And he says, "Fort Smith is no place for a young girl alone, not even a Maddie." So he really understands her. He says, a young girl should not be where you are, not even if that young girl is you. So he understands that she is bucking some of the stereotypes about girls. And she says, if you want anything done right, you got to do it yourself, which is very much the way she sees the world. And then she goes off to talk to Stonehill about his ponies. Stonehill, the stock trader, is very sarcastic, and I've highlighted one section where I see that coming through. She says to him, "Well, you have kept your end of the agreement. I have kept mine." And he says, "That is so. I have paid you for a horse I do not possess, and I have bought back a string of ponies I cannot sell again." So this is sarcastic. He says, yeah, sure, I've held up my end of the bargain, and you've held up yours, but I'm very unhappy. But of course he doesn't say that. He does it again over here. She says, "I hope you don't think I have wronged you in any way." And he says, "Not at all. My fortunes have been consistent since I came to this state. This is but another episode, and a relatively happy one." He is clearly not happy. This is a moment of great sarcasm. So I think that we get a lot of sarcasm from him, and for Rooster, the other man that she is kind of in dealings with, we get a lot of rhetorical questions where he's aggressively questioning her, but not really wondering what she wants to say back in return. She says, basically, "I'm going to come with you. Can we leave for the territory this afternoon?" And he says, "Wait, hold up. You are not coming." "But that is part of it," says Maddie. "It cannot be done." "And why not?" A rhetorical question. So she can hang right there with him. "You've misjudged me if you think I'm silly enough to give you $100 and watch you right away. No, I will see the thing done myself." He goes on to say, "You will slow me down and get in my way. What if you get sick again?" Rhetorical question. He does not actually want her to answer that question. It goes on and on. Whenever he is trying to convince her to stay, and then she gives it right back to him. "I ought to slap your face," he says. "How do you propose to do it from that hog wallow you are sunk in?" Another rhetorical question from Maddie this time. So when he is snarky to her, she is snarky right back. And that all shows me the characterization that I gave in my STEM, which is that she rejects all of these ideas, that she simply should be soft and allow him to do whatever it is that he thinks is best. So I'd like you to read this part that I'm skimming over with you now and get to the part here where I say he is a fine pony about her new horse. And that is your homework. So Monday we'll finish it from there. Have a great weekend.